All right, welcome back to Jam Packed Business Made Easy. I'm so excited for today's episode because we're catching up with someone who's been with us for a while now. Eddie Vargas, CEO of Virtue Audit. Did I say it right?
Yes, we actually pretty much just go by Virtue 340B now.
Oh, wow. Okay, we'll talk about that too. Um, but you might remember Eddie from one of our earlier episodes. He had just launched his business. He was wearing all the hats. He joined our AI author challenge and on a total leap of faith. And it's been a well, we met last April, so it's been over a year now, and a lot has changed. So today we're talking about what has really happened when you build your business and how to do it with AI, the systems that have stuck for you, your mindset shifts, and how that book is still playing out for you. Or and I guess let's just jump in. So if you don't mind, go ahead and reintroduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and your company, and let's dive in.
Yeah, no, awesome. Thank you, Flora. It's always great to be back with you and to be ingratiated with all things Jam AI. Name is Eddie Vargas, and as you alluded to, I'm the founder and CEO of Virtue Audit and Consulting Group, but we pretty much go by Virtue 340B now. And it's a DBA created under the umbrella of the audit group. But really, our primary service is we provide independent compliance audits and consulting services to hospitals and health centers across the country that participate in what's known as the 340B drug pricing program. So, our service model is very similar to that of a professional services firm, like a CPA agency or otherwise. But we're not doing your taxes, we're doing compliance audits. So, not necessarily aligned with a specific professional service, albeit the operational model is very similar to what you would expect in one of those environments.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, and thank you so much for sharing that background and really closing the loop on why your name has changed. It makes sense. Um, if I remember correctly, what really stood out from connecting with you last was you saw an opportunity in a relatively untapped market and you kind of went for it. So do you mind just telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be beneficial to add a little context to where I came from in my career journey before making the leap. And ultimately, I've had the opportunity to work as an analyst in this program for hospital entities in the past. And then I took some jobs all over the spectrum. I went from working at the hospital as a hands on analyst to joining an independent consulting firm and doing the independent audit side of things for the program. Went back to the health center, served as a independent oversight and doing the internal audit plans for a health system. And then I made the leap and joined a startup in the industry that works on the vendor side of helping these hospitals and health centers administer the program. And really being on the other side of the fence, on the vendor side, kind of got exposed to the folks that are in it to help get a piece of the pie and the revenue that these hospitals and health centers realize from participating in the program. And it'd be important to add context that the 340B program in itself allows hospitals and health centers to purchase drugs at a discounted price if they meet certain criteria.
Thank you for
And
that
then,
background. Yeah, that context.
sure, yes, yes. The 340B program, in a nutshell, if you could be in it for about 10 years and still feel like you know only the tip of the iceberg on it. So it is one of these programs that's just super complex, confusing, hasn't been updated in 30 years since it was initially enacted, and it's created a lot of confusion in the space. But over the years, you've had all these vendors kind of come into the space, and really the intent is supposed to be for these hospitals and health centers to utilize the reimbursement that they receive from payers, and by having a lower overhead cost for the drugs, use that extra savings margin to reinvest in their services and in their patients. So, with the expansion of vendors in the space, now you have folks that are helping hospitals and health centers do that, but also collecting a piece of that savings for themselves. And as you could imagine, it naturally leads to maybe uh, some I don't want to say bad actors in the space, but folks that are just have different motivations than you should have from the hospital and health center perspective. And after being exposed to that in the startup landscape, great opportunity, great exposure, but I just didn't like the way my work was being oversaw and really the value I thought I was adding to covered entities, and
Yeah.
ultimately decided our startup was being sold off to another company. I had the opportunity to leave and escape my anti-compete. And I said, you know what? At this time, more than ever, it's probably the best opportunity for me to make that jump. And if I'm going to do this work for the rest of my career, let's at least do it the way I want to and the way I feel should be done for the clients that we have the opportunity to service.
That's awesome. And as you're talking about this, I mean, you touched on it already that the industry you're in, it's not meant to be easy. It's not meant to be simple or simplified. And it's almost set up in a way so it's not easy for people to understand. And then someone like you comes in and you're like, I could talk about this bill and this, like, I mean, till, while I'm half asleep, and so, and even just talking to you briefly, it's like, you spit out these words that you can just, it's like your language, you get it.
It's yep, that is it in a nutshell. It's I've done nothing but this program, across the various spectrums. So I've been forced more than less to have to figure out all those intricacies and gray areas, and ultimately provide recommendations to the clients that we have the chance to work with. So
Amazing.
certainly evolved me into the expert role, if you will.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, actually when I was finishing my MBA, I got a word of advice from the dean of the school at the time, and it was one conversation we had together, and he said, I was actually, I think I was explaining being in this program. I was at the time just an analyst, and he said the words to me, "It's great to be a consultant in times of uncertainty," and it had always resonated with me because over the next few years, that's all this program has grown into. Lots of uncertainty, lots of legal battles at the high level between pharma and the federal government and
Oof.
hospitals. And yeah, while I wasn't necessarily have all my ducks in a row to start a business or a comprehensive business plan ready to go, I felt like the opportunity was there, the market was there, and I had the skills that if I put in the effort, could make something of it. And
You just started. We talk about that all the time, this idea of the jam method, right? Just start, automize and monetize, and just starting. I mean, that could be its own series of conversations, right? There's sometimes this paralysis of people needing perfection or needing A, B, and C or A through Z before they're even, and you just nailed it. You were like, just start. I also want to come back and touch on this because I had to laugh a little bit because you said, "Oh, when I was just an analyst," and I mean that was it. That's a big deal too. So give yourself a little bit more credit, even back then, right? Um,
appreciate that.
so since last April, you've already mentioned that the name of your company has evolved, and I love it. And then we know on our side that you've also added a team member, but what else? Tell us a little bit more about, what has changed in your company since last April.
Yeah, so I've actually added two team members, believe it or not.
Amazing.
Last April, it's funny because coincidentally, probably the 2 to 3 weeks after our initial meeting is really when the levees broke for me, and they came first. I had executed a subcontracting relationship with a vendor that was active in the space to do audits on their behalf. So I was doing audits and getting paid a better rate than I would have if I was an employee, but
Awesome.
not under my own brand name, besides the payments that they submitted to me. But the vendor had lost their full-time auditor that did a majority of their work. So they reached out to me, said, you've been doing work with us. would you be willing to take on the rest of the book of business for the remainder of the year? Which
Amazing.
checked off my box of replace income, or
Yeah.
half income.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And then at really within the couple months after that, I was able to execute a agreement with another vendor in the space to serve as a independent compliant arm as a complementary service to their book of business, which they already had several hospital and health center clients. And since then, we've been able to evolve that. And then naturally, I was able to get more and more independent clients by nature of, brand exposure and reputation improvement overall. Just a natural evolution of what you would expect to happen. But being able to lock in that income on the front end and then continue to establish my relationships and organically grow our own client base just put us in a great position on through the rest of last year and then really into this year.
That's incredible. And I'm not surprised, right? Because one, you're just like a very good human. Two, you're clearly knowledgeable and passionate about what you do. And I have no doubt that you lead with your values in everything you do professionally and personally. So major congrats. And I know even bigger things are on your horizon. And we're really, really excited for you. So, I mean, that what you just said, that's huge. And if you were to kind of pinpoint one thing in this last year, what's like the one thing that you say, wow, I'm really proud of professionally?
I,
We'll start there.
you know, Flora, you nailed it. I don't necessarily have had the blueprint that I was going to follow and how I was going to run the business, but I knew that I had a couple of core principles in my life, and they are to, lead with high integrity, and both personally and professionally, and really with the thought that you do things the right way, and you truly are passionate about helping the folks I have the chance to work with, that it would all come to fruition and it would be what I'm able to build off of and grow off of. So I would say my number one thing that I'm proud of is I turned down some opportunities early on that would have generated some cash flow for me, but I didn't feel aligned with executing and providing our services at the level of integrity that I wanted to. And it's something I stood firm on, and it has already proven to be what's going to be our value differentiator and really our ultimate value add to the clients we have the chance to work with and what'll make them long-term partners. So I think that in and of itself is what I'm most proud of, sticking to my laurels, if you will, and kind of letting come to fruition.
And one of my wishes for you is just that your current clients are able to even hear this because I know they feel that and I'm just that's really cool and it's just so clear. So there's so many things going right. Tell me what are some of the things that are like a little frustrating for you right now to be growing your business and building it and talk to us about that because it can't be all great, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So, boy, Flora, you have nailed it. Going from being by myself, wearing all the hats, yes, it's got plenty of stress and risk associated with it. But when you're trying to adopt new technologies like AI and using ChatGPT, they help make everything so efficient and can really help me voice my thoughts and craft my content. Great. But boy, once I started to scale up and take on more work than I could do myself, and I began to bring on audit support in the form of a principal compliance advisor who happened to be my first boss in the program. Now, a
I
member
love
of my team.
that.
Thank you.
So cool.
Um, as we got to the point of, okay, now how do I try to evolve a team and build an organizational practices and operating procedures and workflows that are beyond just my one-off, you know,
Yeah,
chicken
it
scratch
took you
folks. And
from running your business to like actually having to run your business
yes,
while still running your business. Totally.
that conversion from having a job to running a company or having a business is great and it has, all the opportunities, but now trying to get someone on my level of, hey, this is how we're going to use all these AI tools. This is what I want to structure our services to be, and this is how you can do it without me having to be there with you. I'm still not there, and it's really been such a challenge to the point where um, Katie, who is my first part-time hire, she still works her full-time job. So, the, just by nature of time capacity, is never going to be available for all the support I need. But I knew before I could even consider bringing on a junior staff member or another auditor that I needed to get the company organized. I need to get our processes documented. And because I'm someone that's got more or less got that entrepreneurial spirit that can see the vision and in the end game, I tend to overlook all the A, B's, and C's that need to be done in order to get there. So my the next hire was to bring on Jenna, who began at the beginning of this year, has no healthcare background, no experience in the industry, but her resume is really that of being a training and operations development specialist on the back end. So I said, AI helped me identify this weakness as well, but this is what I needed to add to my team to help us build the organization, get things organized, and really put the groundwork in place to successfully be able to scale and bring on folks that can do this work.
Totally. So, okay, so that's, you said AI helped you identify that weakness. Isn't that a blessing and a curse? Talk to us a little bit more about how you are using AI. And also, this is kind of a long-winded ask. I'm curious how, one, you're using AI now, two, how it's evolved. And to give you some additional context there, what I've really been enjoying doing these podcasts is um, digging into what it means for different people to use AI, right? And some people that just means they've started using ChatGPT. And I don't even mean to downplay it. It's not a just. That's great. And then other people, you know, I asked another guest and he said, yeah, one of my goals is to become an expert in LLMs. And it's like, okay, and beyond that and before that and everywhere in between, and others being like, I still think, AI or robots. Like, I ask you this because there's such a variance, and I think the way you use it and the little that I know might blow some people's mind. So I'm excited to hear how you're using it and also how it's evolved in the last year.
Sure, absolutely. I'll just preface by saying I do think I use it effectively currently, but I also have a lot of big visions of what I want to do with it and to really increase the amount that we're using it. But I will say, I was very fortunate because I was introduced to the whole AI concept, ChatGPT, when I was introduced to Jam and Jam's offering. So instead of spending too much time independently or learning things on my own, I really kind of followed her roadmap and got a good understanding of it.
Wait,
And
I'm sorry, Eddie. To your point, I have to say something here. Jam and I, we're like a two-person team, right? And we talk all the time. And the other day, she was like, "Hey, do you mind just like reviewing this presentation that I'm about to do?" And she threw out easily 10 new tools that she's just like using on a daily basis that I had never even heard of, and she's somehow an expert on them all of a sudden. And I was thinking, like, she is she does so much of this legwork and just puts these tools in front of people, and me included. I learned so much from her just reviewing her presentation. It's incredible. I would never have gotten to the the resources she showed us. Like, anyway.
yeah, no, that is an excellent point. And what's phenomenal is once I see something that I think I can immediately take advantage of or utilize, I know I can kind of get the full understanding from what she's going to share with us or you two make available as part of um, your overall package. And that's phenomenal. But I also find myself anytime I have a conversation or even read the newsletter or something, there's like five wheels that'll start turning in my back of my mind, like, oh my God, that'd be awesome to do. That'd be awesome to do. That'd be
Awesome.
awesome. And then I can't do it. I can't digest it, nor can I,
Yes, you
spend the time
can.
to
You
learn it.
can do it. You can.
Yes, yes. I need to focus my energy in the right spots and do it. So it is kind of funny because I feel like I've rode the AI wave hard on the front end, and then I kind of like hit a plateau for the last 6 months. And somewhat is like subconsciously like, Eddie, just don't read a new product or something new because you're just going to go down a rabbit hole that you
Little
may or may
shiny
not
new
get through.
object.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But the best thing that I was introduced to was really building your brand guidelines and how that module from Jam was shared and really helped me conceptualize where my business was and identifying things like, your target ideal customer, your tone guidelines, things of that nature. And really, in tandem with getting a GP or a Chat GPT Pro subscription, the fact that I began using it, um, was able to input custom instructions that were unique to my business, how I wanted to communicate with clients, etc., just became a natural part of my day. I have
Oh, how did it change it
ChatGPT.
for you?
Huh?
With that information, how did it change things for you?
The fact that I could tell it I wanted to write a sales email and highlight X, Y, or Z service offering and the benefits it would add, the mere fact that I didn't have to reiterate my background context, what I was offering, etc., and it could give me a quality draft email. Fast forward doing that every day for 6 months.
Gave you back time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And now I use this for so much, whether it was to help me craft a audit report recommendation, how to frame X, Y, and Z. Even when I get requests for proposals, I can have them review it, identify the core deliverables. What are some questions I should ask the client before I draft the proposal?
Awesome.
And it is continued to just be trained on my model so well that now, I mean, I can offer a very limited prompt with, little background details, ask it to give me a complex recommendation or assessment for a client on a particular niche element of the program. And just based on all the work I've done with it, I mean, the content it's giving me is so quality and so um, specific that, I mean, it's beyond just efficiency. And the fact that it also can usually craft things a little better worded than I would naturally, and not take me 20 minutes to generate an email.
That helps too.
It has been unbelievable.
So what I'm hearing is AI came out and you were like, yeah, I want to get on board with this. I'm riding the wave. And then you're like, okay, there's a lot here. Let me just stay focused on what I'm doing. And that was pretty much staying focused on your business and training your GPTs to know your business and essentially act as another employee or another version of you with that information and that knowledge and really help you keep that tight.
Absolutely. I
Awesome.
mean, the nature of the business is basically contingent on my expertise. What I'm an expert in the program. That's what clients hire you for is to be an expert in the program. But as it is with any other professional service firm, you're contingent on your expert's time and then your technical support staff time.
Yeah.
And given that I don't have the structure just yet, still don't have it just yet, to really bring somebody on and have them be able to train, learn, and do work, it's a lot of it's being filled by AI and just using ChatGPT. And really, that dynamic in particular is something that I think is unique to my service offering, perhaps, and the structure of the company currently. But
Awesome.
and
Awesome.
yeah, and given that I work in the healthcare space, I started to have real concerns that, boy, I need to dial back the reins a little bit because, I never input any PHI into ChatGPT
Course, yeah.
still, but still started to worry that perhaps just the evolution of I might start to get restrictions in requests for proposals and things like that, where they would say, we don't authorize use of AI for any of our vendors or things. So I started to get worried to myself, like, boy, don't go too fast here if you find out you can't, scale this to an organization. However, I've come full circle. Actually, just recently got some good, pretty much found out that as long as we're using it appropriately and not submitting PHI data, it meets HIPAA compliance standards and should otherwise be able to use. So now I can really try to take all this learning that I've done through AI and now create some organization wide resources that folks can refer to and hopefully be just as good as if I was standing there with them talking to them.
It's amazing. And so that's kind of your plan now going forward with AI then. Or what else? I feel like there's something else back there.
Yeah, so that's the start of it. And what I would really love to do is two different things. I really feel like we're at the crossroads here where in the very near future, I'm going to be able to share our work paper templates, summary of findings, and a full report that's 80% client ready to be generated with AI. So some of the things that take the most legwork during the service that we provide. So that's one. I absolutely want to try to adopt that and see if we can really build out a model that helps us create the client facing deliverables, that meet our standards and our quality standards overall. That's one piece. The second is having an internal repository of information that employees can go to ask questions, whether they're specific for the program and the client or just other general guidance for anything else that we might be doing. And then the last piece and the overarching goal is I absolutely believe that there's an opportunity to create a virtual assistant or a consultant on demand specific for this program, trained on all our data, that could potentially be a product that we could sell either to other vendors or to clients.
How exciting.
Yeah,
And because you're in such a niche, there's so much opportunity for that.
I
That's,
think so. Yeah, I think so.
and I mean, even full circle in this conversation, because you're leading with integrity and doing it for the right reasons, there's that additional opportunity for you. It's not like you have to necessarily be terrified of competition because at the end of the day, that you are doing it for the right reasons.
That's exactly it, Flora. My hopes is that the brand continues to evolve and becomes a leader in the industry, recognized. And now we can associate a product offering along with it, having that reputable brand and reputation in the industry. I'm hoping that it'll be viewed just like that as a top tier opportunity and product for folks.
I love that. So, I mean, I'm excited to do this interview again in a year, right? And because you've come so far in a year in just a short, I mean, I'm cautious to say the word just, right? Because a year can be really long and it can be really short at the same time. But you've come so far in this time that we spoke last year, and just thinking about this past year or so, what is one advice that you would give yourself a year ago that you know right now?
Be patient, believe in yourself, and stay motivated. Um, I know it's very cliche and it is generic, but folks told me on the front end, don't give up, stick with it. It'll happen. And as much as the days that went by that felt like it never would, it did, and it does come to fruition. And if you believe in yourself and are willing to to deal with the stressors and uncertainty, um, one way or another, I think you're gonna come out on top. Um,
Well, and that's beautiful. And you said, it's generic. And I've thought about things like that before, right? And things are generic because they work, right? Like, I mean, even not saying that you just said a live, laugh, love thing, but like this idea of like live, laugh, love, right? People kind of like tease that, but like that works. Like
yeah,
live, laugh, and love. Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Stay
and
motivated. It might sound cliche, but like the idea is pretty sincere. Like, stay motivated, So,
yeah, I mean that's the thing, and people have to anybody that's going through a similar experience, you're never gonna find a resource, a book, a blog that speaks to your unique journey.
totally.
And oftentimes, it's your friends and family aren't going to be able to relate. They're not going to get it. They're just because you could go back and get a job doesn't mean it's you go into trying to run a business knowing, who cares if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's never the way it works, and not for an entrepreneur. And days get lonely, and those stressors at night never feel good. But find a way to keep yourself pushing forward, and I truly believe it'll always come to fruition.
Well, we're really proud of you, and we're so grateful to be a small part of your journey. And I know we're gonna be doing this again in about a year.
Well, I really appreciate it. I'm super happy to have networked with you and Jan both. I love staying tuned to all the things that you guys are doing and evolving. And I've recently kind of gotten back in the swing of things and part of the community, and I continue to benefit from it as always. So I really appreciate it as well.
Well, I don't want to get you like a little too distracted on the new shiny things. However, are you doing the 30-day AI implementation in Club Jam?
So I'm not doing it, but Jenna is.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, there are some things in there that are pretty incredible. And she does do them in a way that you can actually spend 15 minutes to do them. And I didn't think that was possible. And I will say she's made it possible. And they're gonna be some other bite-sized information that when you see them, you're like, how is making a video from AI bite-sized, and she's making it she's honest when she says that. So just keep an eye out for that. And we'll
Awesome.
see you we'll see you soon. And congrats again to you and your wife on expecting the third bambino. And you've got lots of good things to come in your future.
I appreciate it, Flora. Thank you. I wish nothing but the best for you as well. And as always, you're nothing but a pleasure. Thank you.
Talk soon.
Sounds good. See
Have
ya.
a good one. Bye.